The stars burned crimson in the vast expanse as yet another planet met its end. Ambassador Kira Voss stood on the bridge of her ship, gazing solemnly as the world below faded into blackened ruin. Once vibrant blue oceans now churned with ash. Lush green forests were no more. Life had been extinguished. "How many is that now?" asked Captain Thorne, his voice trembling. 17 worlds in this sector alone, Kira replied, her hands shaking as she clutched the datapad. The Vex swarm is advancing far faster than we ever imagined. The Vex were unlike anything the galaxy had encountered. They resembled enormous insects but were cunning and merciless. Their black, organic-looking ships descended upon planets, teeming with life, and devoured all flora, fauna, and sentient beings. Nothing remained. Kira, a representative of the Allen Republic, belonged to a culture built on peace. Her people believed in negotiation over conflict, aid over harm. For 1,000 years it had worked. But the Vex sought neither peace nor understanding. They only sought to consume. "Ambassador, we have reports from the outer colonies," said Communications Officer Vale. "The Vex have breached the Corellon defense line. They're heading for the core worlds." Kira felt her stomach drop. The Corellon line was thought to be impenetrable, fortified with the galaxy's finest technology and strongest shields. If it had fallen, nowhere was safe. "How long do we have?" she asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4, if luck is on our side, Vale replied. Kira's thoughts turned to her homeworld, Alteria Prime. She envisioned its crystalline cities, its floating gardens, its resonating crystals. In 3 weeks, it could all vanish. "What of the Galactic Council fleet?" Captain Thorne asked. Kira shook her head. "Half is destroyed. The rest is in retreat. The Council is considering surrender." "Surrender," Thorne echoed, appalled. "What would that accomplish?" "Nothing," Kira said grimly. "The Vex don't take captives or negotiate. They devour everything in their path." Silence gripped the bridge. The realization was undeniable. The galaxy's greatest civilization was on the brink of annihilation. Billions across hundreds of worlds faced certain death. Hope seemed an illusion. "Wait," Vale said suddenly, his hand pressed to his earpiece. "There's something unusual. A transmission from the edge of the galaxy." "From where?" Kira demanded. "Sector 7G, the dead zone." A frown creased her brow. Sector 7G was home to hostile worlds, places with toxic atmospheres and lethal storms.
"I'll say no."
Intelligent. Life was supposed to exist there. "Put it through," she ordered. The main screen flickered to reveal a face that stunned the crew. The being looked vaguely Alterian, but distinct darker skin, sharper features, and eyes that gleamed with a predatory intensity. "This is Admiral Marcus Kane of the Earth Defense Force," the figure declared. "We've received your distress call regarding the Vex swarm. We're here to assist." Kira stared, disbelieving. Earth, a name whispered in old records. One of the death worlds in Sector 7G. Its savage ecosystem teemed with perilous life. Its primitive, violent inhabitants were deemed unworthy of contact by the Council. "You're from Earth?" she asked, regaining her voice. "That is correct," Kane replied. "We understand you face an invasion force. We have experience dealing with such threats." Captain Thorne leaned in, voice low. "These are the creatures from the death world, the violent ones. Can we trust them?" Kira scrutinized the human on-screen. Kane's scarred visage and war-forged uniform radiated danger, yet his unwavering gaze held sincerity. "Admiral Kane," she said cautiously, "the Vex swarm is unlike anything you've encountered. In 3 months, they've destroyed 17 worlds. Their weapons bypass our strongest shields and their numbers." Kane nodded. "We've been monitoring your transmissions. We've seen what the Vex are capable of. That's why we want to help." "But why?" Kira pressed. "You don't know us. We've never met. Why risk your lives for strangers?" Kane was silent for a moment before answering. "Because it's the right thing to do, because if we don't stop them now, they'll eventually reach Earth." On Earth, Admiral Kane stood in Lunabase's command center. The vast room buzzed with activity. Screens displayed star maps, ship trajectories, and endless streams of data. Officers darted between workstations, preparing for an unprecedented operation. Admiral General Roberts said, his voice tense. "Are you sure about this? We've never fought a war in space. Our ships are untested. Our weapons ... theoretical." Kane glanced down at the report spread across his desk. Earth had anticipated this day for decades. Ever since humanity discovered other intelligent life, they knew they might have to fight for survival. But they had never imagined they'd be fighting not to defend Earth, but to aid others. "General, every simulation shows the Vex reaching Earth within 10 years, if they're not stopped now. We can fight them here, on our terms, or we can fight them out there, with allies. But Admiral, the Galactic Council has ignored us for 50 years. They think we're too violent, too primitive. Why should we help them?" Kane turned toward the window, gazing down at Earth's serene blue and green surface. From orbit, it seemed peaceful, but Kane knew the truth. Humanity's history was one of conflict, a species forged in fire. They had fought in every environment imaginable, against every kind of adversary. Because, General Kane said, this galaxy needs defenders. Like it or not, we're the only ones who know how to fight. In another wing of the base, Dr. Alina Rodriguez analyzed alien transmissions. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had spent 2 decades studying alien life. "This is remarkable," she murmured to her assistant, Dr. Park. "Look at these biosignatures from the Vex samples." Dr. Park leaned closer to examine the data. It's almost like insects." "Not almost," Rodriguez corrected. "They are insects. Giant, spacefaring, intelligent insects." "Wait. But look at this." She highlighted a portion of the data. "They don't just kill their prey. They consume everything, every trace of organic matter. Every plant, animal, microbe." "That's impossible," Dr. Park said. "How could they process such an enormous volume of biomass?" "I don't know," Rodriguez admitted, her voice grim. "But if this data is accurate, the Vex don't merely conquer worlds. They strip them bare, leaving behind nothing but lifeless, barren rocks." Rodriguez was silent for a moment before replying. "How do you fight something like that?" She turned back to the data. Hidden somewhere in the overwhelming numbers was the key to understanding the Vex, and understanding them was the first step toward defeating them. "I don't know," she admitted, "but we'd better figure it out fast." Back aboard the Altarian ship, Kira continued her conversation with Admiral Kane. He had just explained that Earth was deploying its entire space fleet to confront the Vex. Kira couldn't decide if she should feel gratitude or fear. "Admiral, I must ask, how many ships are you sending?" Kane smiled. For a moment, he seemed less like a predator and more like an ally. "All of them, Ambassador. Every single ship we have. This fight is too important for half measures." "And how many is that?" 2,000 ships with more under construction every day. Kira's heart skipped a beat. 2,000 ships more than the entire Galactic Council fleet combined. How had a so-called primitive world achieved such a feat, Admiral? That's extraordinary. But are your ships truly capable of facing the Vex? Their technology surpasses anything we've seen. Kane's voice carried a calm certainty. Our ships may lack some of your advancements, but they were designed for one purpose: war. And war is something humanity knows intimately. Transmission ended, leaving Kira standing alone on the bridge. Beyond the viewport, the distant star still burned red, marking the death of another world. But for the first time in months, she felt something unfamiliar. Hope Captain James Mitchell stood on the bridge of his ship, the Stormbringer, surveying the chaos ahead. The Altian system resembled a scene from a nightmare, wreckage from burning. Ships drifted through space like metallic snow, while the black, organic forms of Vex bioships prowled like predators. "Captain," said Lieutenant Hayes, "we're picking up massive energy signatures, multiple alien vessels engaging unidentified hostiles." "That must be our new allies," Mitchell replied, "and their unwelcome visitors." Mitchell had been chosen to lead Earth's advanced scout fleet for his quick thinking under pressure. First contact with aliens was supposed to be a diplomatic milestone. Instead, they were diving headfirst into an interstellar war. Sir, we're being scanned, Ensign Brooks reported. Multiple sources, some scans appear friendly, but others, double quotes, she hesitated. Others seem hostile. Suddenly the void exploded with light. Weapons fire illuminated space as blue energy bolts and red plasma bursts tore through the battlefield. Evasive maneuvers? Mitchell barked. Scatter formation? The human ships moved with practiced precision, twisting and weaving through the onslaught like dancers. Their pilots had trained their entire lives for this moment. On Earth, survival often meant flying fast, not surviving at all.
Captain.
We're being hailed, Hayes reported. Multiple frequencies, multiple languages, put them all through. The bridge filled with a cacophony of alien voices, speaking in tongues no human had ever heard. Fear, anger, and desperation laced every word. Amid the chaos, one voice emerged clearly. Mitchell grabbed the CUM device. This is Captain James Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to assist in fighting the Vex swarm. Repeat, we're here to help. There was a pause before the same voice returned, tinged with disbelief. Earth? The Death World? That's impossible. Deathworlders don't have space travel. Well, surprise, Mitchell replied. Got tired of walking. On the Altarian flagship Harmony's light, Ambassador Kira Voss stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. The unknown ships darted across the screen with a ferocity and speed she had never seen. They were fast, aggressive, and utterly unpredictable, Ambassador, said Weapons Officer Glenn. Should we continue firing? They claim to be from Earth. Kira recalled her conversation with Admiral Kane. These must be the humans he had promised. Seeing them in action was vastly different from speaking to them over a screen. Cease fire on the unknown vessels, she ordered. Open a communication channel. The main screen flickered to reveal a human face. Captain Mitchell bore the same scarred, dangerous look as Admiral Kane, but his expression was calm despite the chaos around him. Ambassador Kira Voss, I presume, Mitchell said. Admiral Kane sends his regards. We're here to help with your bug problem. Bug problem? Kira nearly laughed, despite the gravity of the situation. The Vex swarm had annihilated half the galaxy, and this human dismissed them as a mere bug problem. Captain Mitchell, she said, this sector is not safe. The Vex have overrun our defenses. We're barely holding the line. Why we're here, Mitchell replied. But first, you might want to tell your people to stop shooting at us. It's hard to help when we're dodging friendly fire. Kira swiftly sent out orders to all Allen's ships, instructing them to stand down. As the humans moved closer to the battle line, her gaze fixed on their vessels. Her hearts raced with unease. The human ships were unlike anything she had ever seen. They were angular, dark, and bristling with weaponry. Gunports and missile tubes covered every surface. Even their smallest ships exuded a menace that dwarfed the mightiest Altarian battleships. Captain Mitchell, she said carefully, I must warn you, the Vex are not like any enemy you've encountered. They're unimaginably strong and utterly ruthless. Mitchell's scarred face broke into a grin that revealed his teeth. It wasn't a comforting smile. It was the grin of a predator. Ambassador, where we come from, everything is incredibly strong and completely ruthless. We're used to it. Before Kira could reply, alarms erupted across the bridge. The tactical display updated to show a massive Vex bioship emerging from the far side of the system. It dwarfed anything they had seen. Its size threefold that of any previous vessel. Captain, Glenn reported urgently. That ship is launching attack. Pods, thousands of them. Kira watched as the swarm of pods spread out like a deadly storm cloud. Each pod carried dozens of Vex warriors. If they reached the Altarian fleet, it would be a massacre. All ships, prepare for boarding actions, she commanded. But her voice, sounded hopeless. The Altarians were not warriors. They were diplomats, scientists, and artists unprepared for close combat against monsters. Ambassador. Mitchell's voice crackled through the speakers. We'll need to board your ship. Our Marines can help repel the Vex warriors. Your Marines? Kira asked. Are soldiers experts in close combat? Mitchell clarified. Kira had read reports about human soldiers, infamous for their unparalleled ferocity, even by Deathworld standards. Right now, none of that mattered. Survival was her only concern. Permission granted, Captain. Docking Bay 7 is clear. Minutes later, Kira stood in the docking bay as a human shuttle descended. The moment the doors opened, she gasped. Humans looked like mechanical demons, clad in black armor that completely enveloped them. Their helmets glowed with red, menacing eyes. Their weapons seemed impossibly large, almost absurd for any living being to wield. The leader stepped forward, removing his helmet. A scarred face emerged older than Captain Mitchell's, framed by gray hair and piercing blue eyes. Ambassador Kira Voss, he said. I'm Lieutenant Commander Alex Torres, Earth's Marine Corps. We're here to help. Kira tried to speak, but found her voice frozen. Up close, Torres was even more intimidating. He was tall and broad, with muscles that could crush steel. His armor bore the marks of countless battle scratches and dents like war stories etched into metal. You seem nervous, Torres said gently, his tone at odds with his appearance. Don't worry, we're the good guys. It's just... Kira faltered, unsure how to explain that humans looked like monsters from Alan children's stories. We look scary, Torres finished for her, a small, understanding smile on his face. We get that a lot. But trust me, you'll be glad we do when the Vex arrive. As if summoned by his words, explosions rattled the ship. Emergency lights flashed red and panicked voices over the intercom reported Vex boarding pods breaching. The hull, speaking of which, Torres said, slipping his helmet back on, showtime. The human marine spread out with practiced precision. Every move was deliberate, every action confident. They set up defensive positions and inspected. Their weapons like this was just another drill. While Altarians darted about in panic, the humans remained camerally so they were preparing for a casual meal. Ambassador Torres called, You might want to get behind something solid. It's about to get loud. Vex warriors tore through the hull, their acidic claws eating through metal like fire. They were a grotesque and nightmarish blend of insect and machine. With 6 legs, 4 arms, and mandibles brimming with serrated teeth, their black exoskeletons dripped with toxic slime. The Altarian guards froze in terror at the sight of these creatures. Everything their species feared made real, violent, merciless, alien. But what the humans did next shocked Kira more than the Vex themselves. They laughed. Contact. Torres barked. Multiple hostiles in Docking Bay 7. The Marines opened fire, their weapons roaring like thunder. What had seemed unstoppable to the Altarians fell swiftly under the humans' assault. Vex warriors crumpled, one after another, but more poured. Through the breach, claws sparking against the deck, their shrieks filling the air with dread, Torres lunged forward, seizing one Vex warrior bare-handed and hurling it across the bay. Another Marine used his rifle like a sledgehammer, shattering a creature into fragments. A third drew a blade glowing with energy. Dispatching enemies with surgical precision, Kira could only watch equal parts awestruck and terrified. The humans fought like predators, without fear or hesitation, mirroring the Vex in ferocity. But unlike the Vex, they fought to protect, not destroy, ... sneak up on Torres. The Marine spun, seizing the creature by the throat. Thanks for the warning, he said. Before snapping the Vex's neck with a sound like splintering wood, the battle lasted only minutes, though it felt like hours. When the chaos subsided, the docking bay was littered with Vex corpses. Humans stood among them, calmly inspecting their weapons and conversing as though nothing had happened. Torres approached Kira, was still crouched behind a cargo container. Are you hurt? He asked. Kira shook her head, unable to articulate the storm of emotions within her: fear, gratitude, awe. It all swirled together, leaving her speechless. Good, Torres said, because that was just the warm-up. Real fight hasn't started yet, he was right. Through the breach, more Vex pods could be heard latching onto the ship, hundreds, maybe thousands. Yet for the first time since the war began, Kira wasn't afraid. The main human fleet arrived like a storm forged of metal and fire. Admiral Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship, indomitable. As 2,000 Earth ships spread across the Altarian system, each vessel was unique, designed for specific roles, but all of them radiated deadly purpose. On her own ship, Ambassador Kira Voss stared in amazement. She had witnessed the grandest fleets in galactic history, but nothing compared to this. Human ships moved in perfect synchronization, like a school of predatory fish. "Admiral Kane," she said over the comms, "your fleet is ... impressive." Kane's scarred face appeared on her screen, his predator's smile as sharp as ever. "Thank you, Ambassador. We brought everything we could, spare and a few things we probably shouldn't have." "What do you mean?" Kane's grin widened. "Some of our ships are still experimental. It seemed like the perfect time for a field test." On the Indomitable, Kane turned to his officers. The bridge was filled with humans who looked as though war had shaped their very essence. Their uniforms were practical, their faces hardened, their eyes unflinchingly focused. "Colonel Santos," Kane said to a woman with short black hair and scarred arms, "brief our allies on the Deathworld doctrine." Colonel Maria Santos nodded and activated a display screen. The image of Earth appeared, not the serene blue planet most species recognized, but a map highlighting its dangers. Volatile volcanoes, violent hurricanes, frozen tundras, and blistering deserts. Ambassador Kira Santos began. "Before we fight together, you need to understand how humans approach war." Kira appeared on the screen, nervous yet intrigued. Behind her, other Altarian officers gathered to listen. "Your species evolved on a peaceful world," Santos continued. "Stable climates, abundant resources, and no major predators. You developed intelligence to create and explore. Specifically, like army ants," Rodriguez confirmed. "The Vex operate on a hive mind principle, much like ants or bees. But look at this." She zoomed in on a section of the brain scan. "They also have individual intelligence. Each warrior can think independently while staying connected to the collective." "That's horrifying," Park said. "Individual intelligence and hive coordination?" "It gets worse," Rodriguez added, pulling up another display of Vex communication patterns. "They learn from every battle. When one Vex dies, its memories feed back into the hive. They adapt to new threats incredibly fast." Park sank into a chair. "No wonder the Galactic Council couldn't stop them. Every tactic gets countered immediately." "True," Rodriguez said, raising a finger, "but they've never fought humans. They have no data on us, no idea how we think or fight. That gives us an edge. For now," Park replied. "We need to hit them hard before they figure us out." Rodriguez activated her comm device. "Admiral Kane, this is Dr. Rodriguez. I need to discuss the Vex Queen ships immediately." Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Park was preparing for a mission that would paralyze most species with fear. She was heading deep into Vex-controlled space to gather intelligence. Her ship, the Ghost Protocol, was one of the experimental vessels, Admiral. Kane had mentioned, outfitted with technology beyond what most species thought possible. "Captain," said her navigator, Lieutenant Cross, "stealth systems are online. The Vex shouldn't detect us." "Shouldn't," Park repeated with a smirk. "That word makes everything more fun." Park's crew was small but elite. Each member had volunteered for missions others deemed suicidal. They were the kind of humans who felt alive only when danger was close enough to bite. "Take us in," Park ordered. "Nice and slow. Let's see what the bugs are cooking up." The Ghost Protocol glided through space like a phantom, its advanced stealth tech rendering it invisible to almost every sensor. But the Vex didn't use conventional technology. As the ship ventured deeper into Vex territory, the crew encountered sights that turned their stomachs. Dead worlds floated lifelessly, gray and barren. Vex bioships loomed nearby, churning out warriors from harvested organic material. Entire moons were transformed into massive weapons. Captain Cross whispered, pointing at a distant object. "Look at that." Park followed his gaze, her stomach tightening. Far off, a colossal structure was taking form. It was the size of a small planet, black and organic, pulsating with vein-like and artery-like structures. "What is that?" asked Ensign Blake from the sensor station. I don't know, Park admitted, but it's definitely not good news. Smaller Vex ships buzzed around the giant structure, ferrying materials, twisted chunks of metal, shattered ship parts, and the most chilling cargo, organic matter harvested from ravaged worlds. They're building something, Cross murmured. Something enormous. Detailed scans of that structure, Captain. If we get much closer, they might detect us. Then we better be quick about it, Park replied. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Kane convened a meeting with senior officers and alien allies. The tension in the room was palpable as they worked to bridge the gap between vastly different military doctrines. The situation is worse than we feared, Kane began. Captain Park's reconnaissance confirms our suspicions. The Vex aren't just attacking randomly, they have a plan. The main display lit up with sensor data, showcasing the massive Vex construction. It loomed like a nightmare, filling the screen with its alien enormity. This structure, Kane continued, appears to be a super weapon. If completed, it could destroy entire star systems in one strike. Ambassador Kira's hearts raced. How much time do we have? 2 weeks, Kane said grimly. After that, no world in the galaxy will be safe. What can we do? An Altarian general asked, his voice tinged with despair. With your fleet, we can't fight them all. Kane turned to Colonel Santos. Colonel, explain our options. Santos stepped forward, her tone blunt. We have 3 choices. We can run and hope they don't catch us. We can negotiate and hope they don't eat us. Or we can strike before they finish the weapon. Attack? The general exclaimed. That's suicide. Maybe, Santos said coolly, but running is definitely suicide. Just slower. Kane nodded. The colonel is right. We run. They'll hunt us down system by system. If we negotiate, they'll consume us mid-sentence. Our only chance is to hit them hard and fast, where they least expect it. But even if we destroy their weapon, Kira said, their fleets are spread across dozens of systems. We can't fight them all. Kane's scarred face broke into his signature, unsettling grin. Ambassador, you're thinking like someone who fights to win. Humans don't fight to win. We fight to survive. And survival sometimes means doing the impossible. Dr. Rodriguez's voice broke through the intercom. Admiral, I've completed my analysis of the Vex specimens. I need to share my findings. Go ahead, Doctor. The Vex Queen ships aren't just command vessels, Rodriguez explained. They're living organisms and sentient creatures corrupted by millennia of consuming worlds. Each queen controls thousands of ships via bioneural links. Kane frowned. What does that mean for us? It means if we disrupt those links, their swarm collapses. They'll become confused, disorganized, and vulnerable. How do we disrupt the links? Rodriguez hesitated. Someone would need to infiltrate a queen's ship and attack its neural core directly. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implication. Getting inside a Vex Queen ship was nearly impossible. Getting out alive was unthinkable. How large are these queen ships? Kane asked quietly. The largest Devourer Prime is over 50 kilometers long, Rodriguez said. Infiltrating it would be like invading a city that's alive and hostile. Kane nodded slowly. Colonel Santos, begin planning an assault on the super weapon. Dr. Rodriguez, keep working on disrupting their links. Captain Park, maintain recon on their movements. Yes, sir, they all replied. As the meeting dispersed, Kira approached. Kane, Admiral, your people seem unnervingly calm about impossible missions. Kane's predatory eyes fixed on her. Ambassador, impossible just means no one's tried it yet. Humans have a lot of experience trying things that shouldn't work. Why? Kira asked. Why risk everything for people you barely? No, Kane paused, then said, because if we don't, everyone dies, including us. And sometimes doing what's right is more important than doing what's safe. Kira watched him leave, realizing with equal parts fear and relief that humans weren't just willing to face impossible odds. They relished the challenge. The Vex Queen ship Devourer Prime emerged from hyperspace, a living nightmare of black, pulsating organic horror. Veins and breathing vents covered its surface, and smaller bioships swarmed around it like deadly offspring protecting their mother. On the Indomitable's bridge, Kane observed the monster through his tactical display. The sensors churned out data, each number more terrifying than the last. The Queen ship was larger than most space stations and armed with planet-destroying weapons. Admiral, a communications officer, Vale reported, "Distress signals incoming. From Nexus Prime, the planet's defense grid is under heavy attack." Kane's eyes narrowed as he studied the display. Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Altarian system, was under siege. 12 billion beings from dozens of species called Nexus Prime home. If it fell, the galaxy would lose its government, its culture, and its last shred of hope. "How long can they hold?" Kane asked. "Maybe 6 hours?" Vale replied. "Vex are using some kind of bioweapon that dissolves shields. Nothing can stop it." Kane turned to his fleet commanders, his expression unyielding. "This is it. Everything we've prepared for comes down to the next few hours. We either stop them here, or we lose everything." On the Ghost Protocol, Commander Rachel Foster was preparing for the most dangerous mission in human history. Infiltrating the Devourer Prime and planting explosives in its neural core. "Commander," said her pilot, Lieutenant Nash, "the bioarmor on that thing is 3 meters thick. Our cutting tools might not work." Foster double-checked her gear, explosives, hacking devices, and weapons no alien had ever seen. She knew breaking into the Queen's ship was only half the battle. Surviving the escape would be nearly impossible. "We'll figure it out when we get there," she said. "We always do." Her crew was small, but formidable. Every member had volunteered for what they all knew was likely a suicide mission. But they were Earth's finest, and humans had been taking on impossible odds for millennia. "Commander," Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through the intercom. "I've uploaded everything we know about Vex bioneural networks to your systems. The neural core should be at the ship center, but be cautious, the Queen ship is alive. It will know you're inside." "Understood, Doctor. We'll try not to upset its digestion." Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, General David Cross coordinated the ground defense. The planet's cities, crystal spires, and floating gardens meant nothing to the Vex. Black drop pods rained down like meteors, splitting open to unleash swarms of warriors. "All units engage at will." Cross barked into his comms. "Don't let them establish a foothold." Human Marines fought alongside alien defenders who had never seen real combat. The aliens were brave but slow, overthinking every action. The humans fought instinctively, moving like lightning and adapting on the fly. Sergeant A. Williams grabbed a Corlin soldier frozen in terror. "Hey, Blue, stop staring and start shooting." The alien, a young recruit named Vex, stammered, "But they're so horrible. They're ugly." "Sure," Williams replied, unloading his rifle into a charging Vex warrior. "But ugly dies just like everything else if you shoot it enough." Above, the space battle raged. The human fleet discovered that fighting the Vex was like battling a single massive organism. Their bioships coordinated with terrifying precision. Admiral, Weapons Officer Gray reported, "Their bioweapons are adapting to our shields. Every hit is more effective than the last." Kane watched as his ships took damage that defied belief. The Vex seemed to evolve with every impact, their weapons growing deadlier by the second. "Then we won't give them time to learn," Kane decided. "All ships, maximum acceleration. Get in close, where their big guns can't target us." The fleet surged forward like a pack of wolves, attacking a leviathan. Human ships exploited their superior speed and maneuverability to dive inside the Vex formation. "Sir," Captain Mitchell's voice came through from the Stormbringer, "we're taking heavy casualties." "The bioships are tougher than we expected. How are our allies faring?" Kane asked. "The Altarians are doing their best, but this isn't their kind of fight. Half their fleet is already pulled back." Kane understood. The aliens were brave, but they'd never faced an enemy bent on total annihilation. Humans, on the other hand, had been battling existential threats for centuries. On the Ghost Protocol, Commander Foster's team approached the Devourer Prime's hull. Up close, the Queen ship was more monstrous than any of them had imagined. Its surface writhed like living skin, while bioweapons tracked their approach like malevolent eyes. There, Nash pointed to a gaping, breathing hole. "Can get in through that." "Are you sure?" Foster asked, eyeing it warily. "It looks like it might eat us." Only one way to find out. The stealth ship slipped into the breathing hole, entering the Queen's ship like a parasite invading a host. Inside, the walls pulsed with life, and the air was thick and humid, like the inside of a giant lung. "This is officially the grossest place I've ever been," muttered explosives expert Rodriguez. "And I grew up in a sewage processing plant." Foster led her team through corridors that twisted like arteries. Everything was alive, and everything seemed to be watching them. Commander Nash whispered, his voice tight, "I think the ship knows we're here." As if on cue, the walls began to shift, closing in around them. Biosecurity systems activated, releasing creatures that looked like nightmares given form. "Run," Foster shouted. The team sprinted through the maze-like passages as the ship's immune system awakened. Behind them, more creatures emerged, each deadlier than the last. Soon, the entire ship would be hunting them. On Nexus Prime, the battle was worsening. Vex warriors poured from their drop pods in endless waves, overwhelming the defenders with sheer strength, speed, and relentless ferocity. General Cross watched the defense lines falter. "All units fall back to secondary positions," he ordered. "Use the buildings for cover." The human Marines retreated through the alien city, utilizing every available structure for defense. But the Vex followed like a tide of black death, General Sergeant Williams reported. "We're running low on ammunition. These things just don't stop." Cross studied the tactical display. More drop pods were landing by the minute. The situation was dire, Sir Lieutenant Park ventured. "Should we consider evacuation?" Cross shook his head. "If we lose this planet, we lose the war. We hold the line no matter what. But how do we stop them?" Cross's expression hardened. "We do what humans do best. We improvise." He activated his radio. "All Marines, this is General Cross. Rig every building in Sector 7 with explosives. We're bringing the entire district down on their heads." Sir Park protested. "That'll destroy half the capital city. It's better a damaged city than a dead galaxy." In orbit, Admiral Kane watched as the fleet struggled against the Vex. Despite superior tactics, the bioship's sheer numbers and strength were proving overwhelming. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost 30% of our ships. The Altarians have lost 50%. Kane's expression was grim. He had expected heavy losses, but knew they had to buy time for Foster's team. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Prepare for a final assault. We're ramming the Queen's ship." His officers stared, stunned. "Sir," his first officer said, "that's suicide," maybe Kane admitted. "But if Foster's team disables the neural core while we keep the Queen's ship distracted, it might just work." Over the comms, Captain Mitchell's voice crackled. "Admiral, if we're doing something crazy, we'd better do it fast. The Vex are gearing up for a final push." Inside the Devourer Prime, Foster's team reached the neural core. The chamber pulsed with alien life, its walls lined with bioneural networks resembling massive brains. "This is it," Foster said. "Rodriguez, start the virus upload." Everyone else, prep the explosives. As they worked, the chamber began to tremble violently. Commander Nash called, "We've got company." The entrances filled with Vex bio-creatures, spider-like. Amalgamations of metal and flesh. They advanced with eerie precision, focusing on the human team. "How long do you need?" Foster asked Rodriguez. 5 minutes. Foster assessed the encroaching monsters. 5 minutes was an eternity against creatures like these. "Ash." "Rodriguez, cover the exits," she commanded. "We hold them here." The team formed a defensive line as the first wave struck. The fight was fierce and desperate, both sides knowing the galaxy's fate hung in the balance. 3 minutes, Rodriguez called. Foster's rifle clicked empty. Drawing her knife, she joined the melee as the others did the same. 2 minutes. Nash went down under a swarm of creatures. Rodriguez, bleeding heavily, continued working on her computer with trembling hands. 1 minute. Foster, battered and surrounded, fought on with a broken blade. She refused to yield. "Plode complete," Rodriguez shouted moments before. A creature struck her. The neural core convulsed, emitting chaotic light as the virus ravaged its systems. The Devourer Prime's mind began to collapse. Foster smiled grimly as the creatures closed in. They'd done it. Outside, the Devourer Prime convulsed, its systems in chaos. Smaller bioships faltered, confused, and disorganized. Some turned on each other, while others froze mid-action. Admiral Kane's tactical officer reported, "The Queen ship is disabled. The Vex fleet is in chaos." Kane nodded. "All ships press the attack. Don't let a single one escape." The human fleet, reinvigorated, launched a final offensive. Without their Queen's guidance, the Vex bioships fought like wounded animals, dangerous, but predictable. On Nexus Prime, the ground shook as explosives collapsed entire city blocks onto advancing Vex forces. Sir Williams reported that slowed them down, but more are coming. Cross noted the Vex's erratic movements. They were no longer coordinated. They've lost central command, he realized. The space battle must be going our way. Still, the Vex warriors remained deadly, their erratic rage making them unpredictable. "Form defensive squares," Cross ordered. "Don't let them surround you." The Marines and their alien allies regrouped. The Altarians, though, inexperienced, adapted quickly, fighting with newfound confidence. "What do we do now?" asked Altarian Officer Blake. "We came in together." "We leave together," Foster said firmly as they moved through the failing biosystems of the dying Queen ship. Behind them, acidic fluids leaked from the walls, emergency biolights flickered and died, and the air thickened with poisonous fumes. "Almost there," Rodriguez said, scanning their path. "Just another 100 meters." They entered a chamber filled with toxic gas, their environmental suits the only thing keeping them alive. Through the far wall, stars glimmered like a promise. "Nash, can you pilot the shuttle?" Foster asked. With my eyes closed, Nash replied. Though his hands were trembling, they reached their hidden shuttle as the chamber began to collapse. Foster sealed the hatch as organic debris rained down. "Go, go," she shouted. Nash fired the engines. The shuttle shot out of the dying Devourer Prime. Behind them, the Queen ship tore itself apart. Massive chunks of bioarmor exploded into space as internal blasts lit up the creature like a macabre of fireworks. Display in orbit, Admiral Kane's fleet pressed their advantage. Without the Queen ship, the Vex bioships became easy prey. One by one, they fell under the relentless firepower of human vessels. "Admiral," Captain Mitchell called from the Stormbringer. "We're detecting escape pods from the Queen ship." "We destroy them?" Kane was about to give the order when his communications officer interrupted. "Sir, one of the pods is broadcasting a human emergency signal." Foster's team, Kane realized. "All ships, cease fire on the escape pods. Recovery team, prepare for immediate pickup." Dr. Alina Rodriguez, monitoring from the science station, watched as the Vex binaural networks collapsed in real time. "Admiral," she reported, "the Cascade virus is spreading to other Queen ships across the galaxy. The entire Vex command structure is falling apart." Kane felt a glimmer of hope. "How many are affected?" "All of them," Rodriguez said, awe in her voice. "The virus is spreading through their binaural network like a disease. Every Queen ship in the galaxy is shutting down." On the Altarian flagship Harmony's Light, Ambassador Kira Voss watched the impossible unfold. The Vex swarm, once an unstoppable force, was now destroying itself. "Ambassador," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving reports. From across the galaxy, Vex fleets are going silent. Some are attacking each other, others are dying." Kira felt tears sting her eyes. For the first time in months, hope seemed real. "Open a channel to Admiral Kane," she ordered. Kane's scarred face appeared on her screen, his exhaustion evident. "Admiral," Kira said, her voice trembling. "How did you know this would work?" Kane was silent for a moment before replying. "We didn't. We just hoped. Sometimes hope is all you have." On Nexus Prime, the remaining Vex warriors grew weaker and disorganized. Without their Queen's guidance, they fought like wild predators instead of a unified army. General Cross led a final assault, his human Marines and alien soldiers fighting. Side by side with tactics honed through hard-won experience. "Push forward," Cross commanded. "Don't give them time to regroup." The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was clear. One by one, the Vex warriors fell. When the last was destroyed, cheers erupted from the surviving defenders. Sergeant Williams reported. The city is secure. Vex forces have been eliminated. Cross surveyed the battered capital. Half of it lay in ruins, and thousands of soldiers from dozens of species had fallen.
Oh, yes.
Yet Nexus Prime stood free.
Admiral Kane.
Cross ordered. Tell him the ground war is over. In orbit, the human fleet mopped up the last of the bioships. Foster's team, battered but alive, was safely recovered and receiving medical care. The immediate threat was over. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, gazing out at the wreckage of the Devourer Prime. The lifeless Queen ship drifted like a dead mountain amid the debris of 1,000 vessels, a grim testament to the galaxy's first war with Earth. Admiral, his communications officer said, messages are coming in from across the galaxy. The Vex swarm is collapsing everywhere. Conquered worlds are being liberated. The war is over. Kane nodded. Signal the fleet. Prepare for the journey. Home, sir, his tactical officer added. What about the Galactic Council? They'll want to thank us maybe. Offer membership. Kane thought of Earth, that fragile blue world once dismissed as insignificant, now the savior of the galaxy. Send them a message, he said. Tell them Earth accepts their gratitude. And tell them that if they ever need help again, they know where to find us. Ambassador Kira appeared on the screen one last time. Admiral Kane, she said, how can we ever repay you? You've saved us all. Kane's scarred face broke into his familiar predator smile. But now Kira understood it wasn't the smile of a monster. It was the smile of a protector. Ambassador, Kane said, just remember that the galaxy is full of dangerous things. Now you know Earth is the most dangerous of all. But we're dangerous. For the right reasons. As the fleet headed home, Kane received one final report from Dr. Rodriguez. Admiral, she said, I've been analyzing the Vex remains. I think I know where they came from. Where?
Oh.
The dark space between galaxies, and sir. Kane gazed at the stars. The galaxy was safe for now, but space was vast, and its dangers endless. Earth had proven itself. The Deathworlders stood ready to face whatever nightmares awaited. War was over, but the watch had just begun.